simply the most powerful book written about meditation. And you would say, how could you say that? First thing, I'm not sponsored by this, I have anything with this. Actually, the author already died. But the reason why I would say something as huge as that is because it is made in a way that is very useful. This one is made with all the rigorosity of science, and at the same time is with all the depth of meditation. That makes it an incredible book. Also because it's made to be a manual on itself. That also makes it stand out from many meditation books that are kind of part of series. This one is the only book you will need to completely transform your life, let's say. So you see it's kind of thick. So it is more like take it like a manual, like something you consult. It's not a book you read from the beginning to the end. Just go back to it. It has a lot of options. The downside of the thing that I see many people getting stuck with this book that became famous around something like 10 years ago, and is that most people find it incredibly complicated. But it is just because it was like you're reading an encyclopedia or something like that. It's just full of information. So if you try to read it like a book, your mind will puzzle, but don't do that. This is a practical book. It's very simple, actually. It's straightforward, simple. It's about stabilizing your mind with an object, and it tells you stage by stage how to go from the completely cathartic mind of someone who has low dopamine levels of scrolling your phone all the time, distressed with depression, with a lot of all the stuff that people have nowadays. It takes you from there. Actually, the author was someone who actually even lived in the street. I say this because sometimes the scientists that write this book, I think they have a bit of an academic position. This guy was a real guy, had a lot of life. So he wrote it from a place anyone can understand. It's incredibly simple in the beginning, and yet it correlates perfectly with the traditions, with the depth of traditions. So it's not leaving anything aside just to make it more consumable for Western practitioners. But at the same time, it makes it in a simple way that Western practitioners could understand it. So not only that, it has all the depth, meaning that it's not just for beginners or it's not just for experts. It's actually go all the way. You will use this book, you won't regret it. And I'm here to actually guide you step by step in why this is a great book. I say this because I find myself spending time introducing people to these teachings because I think they're very useful. And unfortunately, as I said, the guy died and the whole thing was completely discontinued. There's not really people, it's just a couple of people actually actively trying to translate these teachings, which I think are fantastic and very useful. So it will be more like a manual, and you're having here all the solutions. You don't need it. I would tell you that literally if you use this book all the time, and you will really try to go, because it's a practical book, so it's not just something you understand with your mind. You have to really go and do it, and then you find a problem, and you check the book, and you find a solution for that problem. It has a lot of different exercises and things that you can do to solve any possible problem you may have. So it's a step-by-step complete guide. And also an important thing that it does is it demystifies meditation. I say this because meditation is a complex topic because one side takes to the most abstract spiritual stuff, and at the same time is the most obvious thing you have to do to have a good life. So it has this well-being side, but at the same time it has this depth that is difficult to combine. I would say this is one of the most, if not the most brilliant book doing that specific thing, because he was assigned himself, and at the same time, he was an accomplished meditation master, which is very rare. You normally have a bit of like the meditation master side or the scientist side, but he had both. So he relies perfectly on psychology and neuroscience, and at the same time, he understands Buddhism, and he claims that has made kind of like a bit of a discovery that I'm not sure if made a discovery, but that he definitely put it together, something that is very relevant even for people who are already in, let's say in this case, is written under the Buddhist tradition, but he still makes some innovative points, I would say. He's not just telling about explaining you in the past what other people did. He also adds his own characteristic, simple and yet profound and precise way of talking from experience, of course. Also, it gives you the chance, one of the things that makes it also very special, to give you the chance to actually measure progress. So you can tell where you are. Like, you really, maybe in the beginning you're disoriented because about how you place your attention and what happens inside of you when you're trying to meditate. It gives you all that information that most people just tell you, just sit and meditate. Just do this, But he explains exactly what's happening inside of your brain and what's happening inside of your mind and how to deal with it. Give you specific. It's a very subtle thing to do in the beginning, but it's very clear once you understand it. You say, okay, this is very obvious. It's fascinating that the general public doesn't know about this, because this is the reason why you're suffering in many ways, why you're struggling through life emotionally, but also mentally and maybe socially and maybe economically. All that can be compressed into an internal confusion, let's say, and that makes you do a lot of actions to compensate for things that actually wouldn't need to be compensated in the first place if your mind was clear and peaceful. So it gives precise solutions to any problems you could find. And also at the same time, beyond being like a useful well-being manual some way, it also has profound insights. I say this because in the other side of the spectrum, someone who is even, I would tell you, I'm meditating for 30 years and I still find it very useful. I cannot tell the amount of times that I read it. I actually have it on as a version of audiobook, and I listen to it so many times. And I talk, and I had private conversations with the most prominent students that work directly with him. So I think it's an incredible manual, and I'm here feeling with the mission. I have to share this. I have to let everyone know that your life can be so simple and so easy. And you can join this well-being side of meditation, that the part that just makes you feel good and calmer, and your life is in general better, and you sleep better, and your mind is more focused, and you get in more flow states when you're working, to the other side of the spectrum of non-duality, let's say. This very complex philosophical aspect that talks about enlightenment and some things that is complex to analyze and understand. He's talking about that. But one of the things that these people do that most people don't realize is that they are giving you something, they're giving like 10 times more than they're saying. So apparently it's a guide to stabilize your mind and learn to concentrate. Maybe someone will say like that, just to learn and concentrate or something like that. But actually it's giving you a deep, profound understanding. If you really practice it, a lot of things will come up, a lot of insights, which is the natural wisdom in your mind, because the wisdom, you don't get it from a book. This is just pointing you. You have the wisdom inside of yourself. You know everything you need to know. But it's sometimes very difficult to tap into that clarity. So it gives you the tool, but at the same time, it helps you integrate these very profound, complex understandings about reality, about how you perceive the world. And this will be exactly, I probably would say this is the best book anyone who tried to understand non-duality or this enlightenment thing or inquiry or all this thing. This is the part you're missing. This is the everything else up into there. And I think that's where, compared to many different traditions, each tradition has its own strength. But I say Buddhism in general, it is really, really, really good at not making easy, quick statements or based on beliefs or doctrines or talking about gods or anything like that. No, it takes you direct from where you are, step by step, clarifying all these points in the middle. I say this because, for example, I'm going to compare. This is comparison between traditions is always unfair. But Advaita Vedanta will say, you're not doing anything, you're not the doer, or you are already enlightened, or everything is one, or things like that. But you say, okay, I get the idea, I like the idea, I read a lot of books about it, I heard this idea a million times, but how do I get to realize that is my experience? Well, this is it. So I could go on and on, and we could personally talk about non-duality and all the incredible insight, but it's completely useless if you're not seriously meditating. I say this because this is a point sometimes people in this era where we're trying always to get a quick hack into enlightenment, quick hack into non-duality, quick hack into an incredible everything, we tend to miss the depth of the teachings. And it's like a vicious circle. You try to go fast and consume all these YouTube videos like this one, but this one, I'm pointing you to do something. I'm not just throwing you some interesting idea. I always try to emphasize the idea. You can, even when you sometimes, some people through psychoanalytics, or sometimes just by natural sensitivity, some people get into, you understand, you had an insight, you had a moment, but you lost it. And you try again and you cannot make it. And you try to meditate and it gets it, but not really, like not fully. So you're dancing between trying to practice and at the same time trying to understand. This again, and I'm not sponsored by this book, or I'm not, how you say it, when you put a link for people to go there. Now, I have nothing to do with these people. I have nothing to do with this guy. I'm just fascinated of the brilliance of this work. And I really hope this helps a lot of people. I hope this is the case for you. So if you give it a try, I say, you may get it, you may read it, you get like many books, and after a while, most people will quit because progressing through it is kind of difficult without like direct guidance from someone else. I always had teachers, as I mentioned before. I actually not only dive deep in this and practice for hundreds of hours, just exactly what he says. I also had direct coaching with his students, his most direct, the people who supposedly knew better what he was doing. And there is very useful thing you can try here. Okay, so this hopefully will give you a very scientific and a lot of information. Probably that will be the downside. If you ask me, what is the downside of this book? Well, if you throw this book without explaining all these things that I'm explaining, most people will feel overwhelmed by the amount of information. In the beginning, we decided, okay, I can do the first stage. Yeah, but no, as you start progressing, you say, I don't understand anything. Everything like too many exercises, too many techniques. That's where I hope through these videos, I create also the environment where if you're trying it, because you can comment it, you can ask me questions, you can share this with other people. I'm working on getting a community together where you can actually get all that benefit. But because that's the only thing, you need human interaction beyond the book, and you need practice. If you have these three aspects, you're set. You're going to make it. Okay. I hope you find the video interesting. It's a thick book. You can probably, I shouldn't say this, but you can probably find the PDF online. You can read the book probably online. I don't know. I think there are some legal tricks people find to put the PDF online. Anyway, if you want to check it out. If you have any question, ask me any question. But if you have any sense that you're real for meditation, you're real to understand, you're real for making a breakthrough, and you're ready to learn, you're ready to do the work, this is probably one of the best books you can buy. So let me know if you have any question, and see you probably tomorrow. We'll see.